on our show again. I'm so looking forward to all of your questions, and I'm so looking forward to seeing if I can possibly answer them or not. Give me 1 second. I forgot to silence my phone. That's it. That's done. I'm here, of course, as always, with my spirit guide, Great Eagle, who is standing to my right side. He's chuckling because I wasn't quite ready for him. And, of course, we have my friend Chris, who's also here with us doing the show this morning. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, everyone.
And we are so eager to begin with your questions. But as I said in our little preview, and as we say every week, first of all, if you have a question, the sooner you put it up, don't wait. The sooner you put that question up, the more chance you have of having your question answered, because we do like to go in order. So the first person who asks the question is the person that we go to. I can see that you're all saying hello and hi and all of that. So I'm going to say hello and hi to you, all of you too. Let's see. What have I been doing? You can see by the background, I'm still not home. I'm still, yes, after all these weeks, it seems as if I'm never going to go home. In fact, I had a neighbour call me just before we started the show to say, are you ever coming home? And the answer is, yes, I am. But what with not quite knowing what's happening with the schools and with sort of things being up in the air, with my daughter and my grandson not knowing about schools and so on and so forth. It is New York City. It has, I think, the lowest, if not definitely one of the lowest counts of COVID. But even so, the teachers are saying that they're going to go on strike because they don't want to go on the subways, or they don't want to do. How nice for them to have a choice, I think to myself, when all the rest of us are having to do what we have to do. Let's not get into that. I know that people have different points of view, but, through the COVID issue, it was awful. I saw it myself. It was awful. And I know that a lot of you with kids out there are pulling your hair out because you don't quite know how to deal with things. But there is absolutely no reason, in my view, there is no reason why they cannot have full-time classes, even if they are online. A few months ago they were doing it, or just before the summer holidays they were doing it. The teacher would be on for 5 minutes, you'd watch a 5-minute video, and then that would be it, and over to you parents. Not good. There's no reason why we can't do classrooms online. After all, we do workshops, don't we? And we do have our webinars. And talking of webinars, how's that going, Chris?
Well, I think you're very close, Rosemary. I mean, the date is set. The subject is set. It's just going to be how we announce it.
Yeah. So the 24th, hold the date to the 24th of October. We shall be announcing very soon. We're sort of at the point of sort of now scheduling and making sure that we can schedule, and making sure that we know how the process works, so that we don't have all of you sort of yelling at me saying, I've tried to get in, or I've tried to sort this out and I don't know how it works, because we want it to run as smoothly as possible. And I'm pleased to say that Chris has been fantastic in helping me with this, as have a couple of other people. Anyway, all right, Chris, what do you think of this school situation? Am I the only one who thinks that there's really something wrong with this problem now?
I don't think you're the only one, Rosemary, but I have relatives who are school teachers, and I can understand their concerns about catching COVID. I have many people who are friends that have children at home, and I can understand their concerns that, hey, my profession is not a teacher.
Right.
I can understand the kids' point of view, like, hey, I want to play with my friends.
Yeah.
But we do have technology, and I'm sure with the bright minds out there, we can figure it out.
Well, I know that in New York, before the summer, there were many private schools who actually were having full-time, the kids sat in front of the computer or whatever. They were having full-time classes, of course, giving the kids a break. but the teachers were teaching throughout the day with the children, giving them homework, discussing things. And so it was as much as they possibly could make it. It was a classroom situation. But if you weren't at private school, forget it. It was terrible. And the teachers, you know, I'm sure many teachers would have preferred to have it differently, but the teachers were barely there and the kids were not getting enough from the teachers and relying on the parents. And the parents, quite frankly, they're not. Who's qualified to teach? And it's very worrying because aside from the social aspect, which is very important for children, I think, aside from the social aspect, there's the aspect of, you know, sort of taking my grandson, for instance, doing really, really well at school, and all of a sudden, there are so many parents in this area, they're saying, oh, well, we're going to pay tutors, you know, $250 a week, anywhere up to $10,000 people are talking about paying for tutors and having these pods. And when I say 10,000, I think it's $10,000 for, let's say, 5 or 6 kids to do this, to have a personal tutor. But who has that money? There are so many people out of work. It's crazy. Can't they figure it out? I mean, really, we have so many geniuses in this world, but figure it out. So I feel that if the private schools can do it, why can't the schools that are not private, that are, you know, run by the local, whoever it is, educational committees and so on. So anyway, that's my beef for the day. I'm stopping moaning now, but it just seems to me we have children in our hands who we need to accommodate, and we need to sort these things out. And it's a nonsense to expect that parents can teach the children, because naturally they don't have the experience. Otherwise, why would we need teachers in the first place? So anyway, my beef is done. Not going to mention it anymore. But if anybody out there has a comment, if you're a teacher and you think I'm upsetting you by saying this, please, it is not my intention. I'm sure there are many teachers out there who are equally as frustrated as the parents of the children. So, Chris, what do we have? What have we got?
So you want to start right in with your first question?
Go for it. Yes. Comments
Okay.
and questions. Go for it.
All right. Joe is on.
Who?
Joe.
Joe. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Rosemary. Curious to know, after your spouse dies and goes to heaven, when the living passes, is he waiting for you to arrive? This just recently got on my mind. Who are we in heaven to each other? What if he had an ex-wife who passed? Was she waiting for him? He was my first love at 15 and reunited 28 years later,
Wow.
married for 22 years. He was and still is my heart and soul. He has been gone 2 years, and I miss him every minute of every day.
All right, so this is sort of like a 2 or 3 part question. I think I'll do my best to answer. First of all, Joe, I can tell you he will definitely be waiting for you. When you have that kind of relationship and you have your soulmate, and you obviously found your soulmate, which is fantastic for you. When you have that kind of a relationship, yes, you know, I'm sure that he will be waiting for you, and I'm sure that he will be one of those, and I say one of those, who will be reaching across that, let's say, the bridge, to help you over, to haul you over to his side. That doesn't mean you have to go now. It means, you know, I'm sure that he'll wait until it's your time. And in the meantime, who are we in the spirit world? We are who we want to be. We are just as much ourselves. Because if we sort of think about it this way, if we close our eyes and we sort of, you know, we just let everything around us go, we're not our body. We are our mind, we are our feelings, we are who we are inside more than anything else. Our actions come from the way we think. Everything that we do and who we are as human beings comes first of all from here and from here. So from the mind and from the heart. So that's who we are when we are in the spirit world. Now, you did ask the question, what if somebody's been married before? And I've had this many times. I've had people come to me to connect with their husband or their wife, and yes, that person might be with a previous wife who passed, but that doesn't mean he's not with you also. We can actually have more than one relationship and be good with that and be content with that. So, it's really a choice. I too have wondered in the past, the one person I don't particularly want to be there when I arrive in the spirit world is my mother. Because I really don't want to face the angst of all of that stuff, because I moved on and moved past that years and years ago. But let's say she asks to be there, it will be my choice whether to acknowledge her or not to acknowledge her. Let's say she chooses not to be there. That's her choice, and that's okay too. So we have choices, and we make choices. I don't know if that's answered your question, my darling, but that's the best I can do for now. Chris.
So we have all kinds of hellos from people all over the US and Scotland. And of course, we're remembering our friends down in the Caribbean, Texas, and Louisiana who are dealing with this hurricane.
Yes.
Ariel says,
Good morning, Ariel.
does my mom in heaven, Patricia, approve my fiance? She passed before I met him.
Oh. Well, without making a connection with her, which I don't necessarily have that connection, but I do have Grail, who has put his hand on my shoulder, and the answer is absolutely yes. So there you have it. Yes, Chris.
Michelle's asking.
Morning, Michelle.
She says, hope you are well. This is a question for you. How did you realize Gray Eagle was your guide? Was there any research you had to do? I kept getting a name, a place, so I did my research and found who my guide was. Amazing.
It's a very long story, the connection with Grey Eagle. You can read that story in The Eagle and the Rose, which is my first book. And if you want it in more detail, please, you can. The Eagle and the Rose was published in 1996, believe it or not, and it is still in the stores. You can still get it. If you can't for some reason or another find it, please email me, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com, and I'll tell you how to get a copy. But it is known as a classic, so it's a fascinating book, and you might want to read that. But Grey Eagle made himself known to me slowly over a period of time, and oh gosh, I think it's too long a story to tell, but yes, when he made himself known to me, of course, I wanted to check it out. I'm a British girl. Why would I have a Native American? Come on, really, doesn't make any sense to me. Didn't make any sense to me at all. So of course I did my research, and there are lots of Grey Eagles that from a variety of different tribes and different nations, but Grey Eagle my Grey Eagle was very specific. He was Apache, and he was a shaman. He is Apache. Gosh, I can't believe I just made that mistake. He is Apache, and he is a shaman, and so I was finding all these other Grey Eagles and thinking to myself, did I make a mistake? But he was very clear to me and saying no. I can remember when I first came to the States, and I was going to go on the Larry King show, and of course it was my first time of talking about spirit guides, about what I do and how I do it, and so on. And a lovely friend of mine actually said to me, Rosemary, I know that Grey Eagle is Apache. I know you said that he's Apache, but, and this was back in 1995, remember, 1996, something like that. So she said, but you may want to say that he's either a Hopi or find a nation that is softer, that is gentler. Find a background for him. I said, you mean lie? You mean say that he isn't Apache? So she said, well, the Apache were the fiercest of nations. They were the fiercest and known to be the most brutal, or seemingly the most brutal. And I there was no way I was going to do that. If Gregor tells me he's Apache, I'm going to own it. Why wouldn't I own it? But it also makes perfect sense to me, because with what we do, the two of us, let me tell you, it has been over the years an uphill battle. People who disagree, people who claim not to believe, so on and so forth. We have to be warriors, and Gregor has taught me. I was already a warrior. My father was a warrior, so I know that side of things. I was born a warrior. Grey Eagle is a warrior. It makes perfect sense to me that I should have a spirit guide who is absolutely a warrior, but the gentlest and most beautiful and the kindest of souls too. So when I finally did find him, which my research showed me, I went into Sedona, into Phoenix, and came across, you know how you say, amazingly, by accident, I came across this whole, they were like cigarette cards, the old cigarette cards, and there he was. And of course there are no accidents, and when I saw it, I found it, I was able to research in the right way. Yes, he is actually in the history books, I'm pleased to say. So yes, and he was at the signing of that famous treaty. He was there for that. So we can find out, when we have information, we can find out about who it is who's watching us, watching over us, and also who is guiding and steering us. Usually it is our family. Unless you're going to be working full time in this realm, it's not usual for you to have a spirit guide at all. But our family, our loved ones, are those who guide and steer us. Yes.
Mary Lou is saying good morning.
Hey, darling. Good morning. Good morning.
Well, this is a different Mary Lou.
Oh, it is? Oh, I was going to ask her how the house was. All right. I can take a different one. Good morning, Mary Lou.
Okay. What is your opinion about the pandemic?
Oh, golly. Well, I think that obviously there is an issue. Obviously, we should still be careful. Obviously, we have to take this thing very, very seriously. However, I don't believe in the numbers, because I know too many instances personally. I know people who have personally been told they have COVID, not even having had the COVID test, but just been at the clinic or the hospital, or somehow or another their names were mixed up with somebody else's names. There are too many instances, to my mind, where people are being told that they had COVID, or people have died of COVID. That every hospital who has a patient who dies of COVID gets a fee, an extra fee, that is. So if you die of a heart attack in hospital, they pay you whatever they pay you. But if you die of COVID, they pay you way more than that. The numbers are so skewed. The media, the news, everything is set to sort of have this fear-based, for us to freeze in our fear, and to be so frightened of what is going on. And the media, all of the reporting, all of the stuff that's going on, the violence and the stuff that's going on, because people have been so homebound or so frustrated or whatever. I don't believe anything that I'm told anymore. I believe what I'm told with Gravel, and I believe what I'm told about the spirit world. And I think that I'm probably going to say something that most people do not want to hear, but I think that it has been exaggerated. Not everywhere. There are some circumstances and some situations where it has not been, but I think in the main, for the majority of us, I think this pandemic has been so exaggerated and so sort of it's all about the fear. There's nothing sort of positive. Nobody is saying to us what we can do about it. Everybody's saying what we shouldn't do about it. How about telling us what we can do? How about having a positive attitude and positive thoughts about it all? I just don't know what to say. I never thought, quite frankly, that that the media would be allowed to run the country as it's doing. I've always known the power of the media, but this is beyond anything that I could possibly have imagined. And I'm going to say that here's what I think about it. I think it's disgraceful. I think it's absolutely disgraceful, because so many of us are being frightened, and instead of being helped through all of this, we are being frightened on a daily level, and numbers are being exaggerated so beyond what they really are. Anyway, that's it. Let me get off of my soapbox. Chris, how do you feel? How do you feel, Chris?
Are we talking about in general, or are we talking about COVID?
I don't know. Say anything you like. You pick.
Right.
You choose.
Well, I'm going to choose the nice comments in the box here.
Great.
So they love you in your red shirt.
Thank you.
This is Catty says you look so pretty in red, Rosemary.
Who is this?
Catty.
Oh, thank you, darling. Well, thank you. This is my summer shirt. I'm running out of clothes. I came to stay in New York. Intending to stay for 2, maybe 3 weeks, and here I am, and 6 weeks later. And my daughter said to me yesterday, I don't really want you to go home. Can you stay until Reese goes? I don't think I can, but I'm here for at least another week. But I am running out of clothes, so you probably will see me in this again and again and again before we're done. But thank you.
Craig made a comment with regard to the schools you were talking about earlier in the show.
Right.
For some reason, he wants you to name some of the schools.
Which schools?
The schools you were talking about earlier. That's all he says. He says, name some of these schools, please.
Try New York City. Somebody told me yesterday it's the, I forget what they told me now. Something about it's the biggest educational. They have more schools apparently, or they have more educational facilities in New York than they do anywhere else. My own grandson's school, for instance, I'm not going to name it because it wouldn't be fair to Reese. But hey, do your research. I have a friend I spent time with a few days ago. Their son goes to private school. Their son had literally like a webinar all through the day, whereas my grandson, they live in the same city. One goes to a private school, and the other goes to, he's in a G&T program, but in a regular school. And the difference between how they had their education during COVID was unbelievable. The difference was unbelievable. Reese had somewhere in the region of 15 minutes to half an hour a day, and then over to you parents. And this other boy in the private school had, a proper classes daily, which ran as the school determines that, however many hours a teacher works, however many hours a class is normally working, that's what they did. There's no question of it. So I'm not going to, I couldn't name his school for the life of me, but I know that he goes to a private school. I know that it's in New York City, and I know that this is what happened. So, so do your research and figure it out, find it out for yourselves. It is a fact. Chris.
Prosy, Prasi.
Good
Prosy
morning,
says,
Prosy.
hello, Rosemary.
Hi, darling.
Love this color on you. I started a new job and I'm a little nervous. I'm
Oh,
seeking guidance from Gray Eagle and you. Love and light.
all right. Well, I'm looking to Grey Eagle here because he knows and I don't. So I'm looking to Grey Eagle here, and this is his answer to you. So I hope you understand this. You do seem a little bit nervous about your own abilities, but you know perfectly well when you set your mind to doing something that you can do it and you can do it really, really well. So set your mind to it. Try not to be intimidated by the workers who are around you, and you know, it's always difficult, isn't it, going into a new job? It's always difficult because you have to not only get used to doing the job, you have to also get used to being with people, working with people who you actually don't know. So you have to get to know them. So Gregor is saying quite clearly to you, Rossi, don't doubt yourself. You can do it. So dig in and just be yourself. Yes, Chris.
Linnea is on.
Good morning, Linnea.
I just read your book and it was really inspiring. It's my mom's favorite book, and she gave it to me to find peace and comfort after losing someone very close to me. I was confused and questioning faith. Thank you for writing it.
I'm assuming, I don't know, but I'm assuming you're talking about The Eagle and the Rose, especially if it's your mum's favourite book, because it has been out, as I've said, for 20, 24 years. Oh my gosh, was it 24 years ago that I wrote that book? It's so funny because when people first read that book, I talk about Samantha, and I talk about when she was younger, and she was in her, what was she, in her early 20s when I think when I wrote that book. And people read the book and they look for my daughter and they still think she's a little girl. I'm not sure if you're disappointed when you see she's actually a grown woman with a family of her own. But that is, if it is the Eagle and the Rose that you're talking about, I know that it has been hugely, hugely inspirational for so many people over all of the years, all of the 24 years. I have been blessed when, I mean, people have actually requested that they want to be buried with it. People have requested that can they give it out? It's sort of been gifted to so many other people. So thank you so very much for that comment, my darling. Thank you. Yes, and just to add, I have written other books. There are many books, but I'm assuming you mean that one because it is truthfully just a beautiful book. Chris.
Adrian's asking,
Hi, Adrian.
when children pass away, do they continue to go to school and learn on the other side?
They do. That maybe not in the same structured way that we do here. Oh, now I'm being corrected. Gregor says in some ways it's much more structured, but it's a wider learning process. It's a much wider and a much more sort of perhaps inspired way of learning, because they're not just learning about the things that perhaps are of no use in the spirit world. They're not necessarily learning about math or what is it, the 3 R's: writing, reading, arithmetic. I know they're not the 3 R's, but they call them the 3 R's. But they're learning much more, and they're learning about the universe also. But I was going to say perhaps not as structured, but Gregor is actually correcting me, and he tells me that it's in so many ways much more structured, and there's much more focus, but there's much more enlightenment, and he also says, and much more joy. So that's good to know. Yes, Chris.
Carlos is on, and
Morning, Carlos.
he's one of our friends that used Google Translate, it looks like, so we're thankful for that. I'm back a few weeks later. I've had dreams. This pandemic put things hard. I don't see my friends. I can't practice things that I love. How can I transmute this energy?
You can practice things that you love. It's so difficult because we're so isolated in so many ways. But I'm going to tell you a story that maybe will help you to understand what I just said to you. So I've told this story before about the Hopi Nation, which is in where is it? Arizona, and it's near the Grand Canyon. They sort of the you know, that area of the Grand Canyon, or part of the area. This is miles and miles wide, but part of that area is where the Hopi Nation lives. And many years ago, they were trying, they being the media or historians, whoever, they wanted to go into the Hopi Nation and to talk and to learn more about the Hopi Nation, because the Hopi Nation were at one time very isolated, and deliberately so. And so eventually they allowed a reporter in to interview one of the grandfathers, and at some point during the interview, and you can read about this, by the way, you can research it and you can read about it, and so the reporter said to the grandfather at some point, one of the questions was, so what do you think about man having built a machine to go to the moon? And the Hopi elder was very confused. And this is, I want you to think about this, all of you who are at home and all of you who feel isolated, right? Please think about this. The Hopi elder said, he's sort of a bit confused, why would man build a machine to go to the moon when man can go to the moon by himself? I'll tell you another little story to sort of explain a little bit further. When I was in England, a few years ago, not that many years ago actually, but I collapsed. I was very sick and my kidney was doing a number on me, and I only have one, so it was a difficult and a trying time. Anyway, I collapsed. The ambulance came. I was rushed into the hospital. I had two fabulous friends with me, American girls with me, and an English girl with me, who both all friends. And it was so funny actually when I was taken in. I was taken in on a stretcher, but then I said I'm good in a chair, so they wheeled me into through the hospital doors in a wheelchair. But I was in excruciating pain. And one of my American friends said to the other, I'll go to the desk and start the paperwork and you stay with Rosemary. My British friend had sort of gone to park the car. She'd followed the ambulance in. When my British friend heard do the paperwork, she was very confused, because in England, we don't do paperwork. You don't have to have insurance. Everything there is somewhat free. So we get there. I'm in excruciating pain. They finally managed to get me up into the ward, and we're there now 2 hours and so on. And I just don't know what to do with myself. And then I realize, hold on a minute. I'm thinking, I realize through the pain, I need to put myself in another place. We can all do this. Our minds are the most powerful, our thoughts are the most powerful thing that we possess. And so with Grey Eagle's help, I was able to transcend my body and move myself into a place where I could lift myself out of the pain, and I could lift myself into that place where I could see what was going on. I could see me sitting on the bed. I could hear my friends around me, but I had transcended and gone beyond and had put myself in, let's say, for those of you who need it, can understand it in simplest terms, I was in a teepee with Grey Eagle, and I was with healers, and I was with people surrounding me in the teepee, people in the spirit world with Grey Eagle. I had transcended beyond my physical self. When you're talking about what you're not able to do, and all of the exercises that you're not able to do, and all of the things that you can't do now, I'd like you all to think about the fact that actually we can, in a different way, transcend and go beyond our own physical body, and we can transcend and have these wonderful and fantastic experiences with our loved ones in the spirit world. We need to learn how to do these things, which is one reason why we are going to be doing our webinars, because people have really, so very little idea of how they can do that. So what I'm saying is, once you learn how to do those things, and for those of you who meditate, and for those of you who are, very much involved in this work yourselves, you should know what I'm talking about. You have to trust yourselves to be able to do this, so that you're not stuck in your house. You can transcend beyond your physical, and you can have these fantastic experiences, and you can have these fantastic conversations. The Hopi elder says, why would man build a machine to go to the moon when we can go to the moon anyway? So we can transcend our physical bodies, and we can travel, and we can explore, and we can have some fabulous and some wonderful experiences. And we can, in fact, transcend to the point where we can meet our loved ones in the spirit world and have conversations with them. So you don't have to be stuck. I don't know if I've now confused you all, or if you understand what it is I've just said to you, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you understand what I've said to you. Yes, Chris, let's move on.
That reminds me of the late Senator John McCain. He was a POW in the war.
Yeah.
And when he was in his tiny little cell, obviously, dehydrated, not being fed and beaten and all that, I believe it was him who wrote a story about how he would play golf. So he would literally sit there sort of in that meditative state that you're talking about, and
Yes.
picture the last golf outing he went, and he would go hole by hole, stroke by stroke, and that's where he was during the day instead of being in that little cell.
It's funny that you should mention John McCain, because I know him in a whole. Most of you would be amazed at the reason that I know him, but I know him in a whole other way. And I know absolutely that he believed in the fact that we are more than we seem to be. We are able to do much more than we seem able to do. And I know that he was one of these people who did explore that, being able to transcend, being able to place himself into situations where he might be able to see more, to become more aware of things. So I'm glad you mentioned him. I know that he had sort of some. He was a very powerful man, and very forceful in one way, but I never met a man who was more caring and more concerned for right than him, I think. Keep going, Chris.
All right, Kristen is on.
Morning, Kristen.
I have recently been having angry, almost violent dreams. I was told once that there is a portal in this area of my house. Not sure I believe that, though. Could there be a connection? Maybe there is.
What was built, did she say, in her house?
She was told that there's a portal.
A portal? No. However, if any of you out there are in doubt of the energy that is within your house, you can do a cleansing. You can go onto Google and find out how to do it. We're not going to spend hours and hours talking about that here, but you can go onto Google and find out how to use sage and do a cleansing. But I don't know who told you that about the house and the portal and all of that stuff, but I would say it's somebody who probably didn't really know what they were talking about. I'm going to go there, and I'm saying that in the most respectful way to that person, but they need to sort of perhaps learn a little bit more about what they're saying and doing. You've got to be so careful, and you've got to be so careful what you tell people. The energy, the anger that you're having in your dreams, I think is probably to do with the frustrations that you're having in life, and I think that on a subconscious level, maybe even on a conscious level, you're struggling and you're frustrated with how your life is going right now, and I think that's being expressed in your dreams. There is a way to combat it. There is a way to change your dreams by, when you go to bed at night, you simply say the protective prayer. I will tell you what that is and what you do, and it's the simplest thing, and we can all do it. If you're nervous about your dreams, if you are worried about what you may experience through in your sleep state, and I've used this like so many times, because there was a time where I was terrified to go to sleep for fear of what I was going to see and what I was going to experience. So this is what you do. You put your right hand over your heart, your left hand over your right hand, and you simply say to those you love, or to God, or to the universe, or to whoever it is you feel is your protective force or your protective energy, and that may well be God. Dear God, please keep me safe tonight. Please keep the negativity away from me. Please allow me to sleep in peace, quietly, and with joy. And that's all you do. And then hopefully you go to sleep and all that negativity is disappeared, because you've literally said, dear God, I'm in your hands. Help me and protect me. When you give over, when you have an issue or you have a problem, and you give it over to God, or you give it over to the universe, or you give it over to that God force, and I'm using the word God, we all know what that means, that higher power, but remember, God is only dog spelled backwards, and the words don't mean much. It's your faith and your belief that means the most. When you hand over your concerns, your worries to that God force, just don't interfere with it. Don't try to do anything else. Just hand it over, have faith and trust, and it will work. Yes, Chris.
Tara has a big thank you for you.
Morning, Tara. You have a thank you for me?
I asked you if I was going to be okay. I had been called for an urgent biopsy. You said you felt I would be, and I am. I was told that I 99% likely had skin cancer. In fact, I didn't. Thank you. Your words have me comfort and hope. Now I'm looking forward to my dreams coming true.
Oh, darling. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased for you. And whew, what a relief. What a relief for you. And I'm so glad that we were able to give you that hope and the courage to sort of go forward with this, and to face, what could have been an awful situation, but to face it and come out of it on top. Now what you have to do is live the rest of your life. Live every day as if it's your last. Find the joy in life, and Gregor is saying, find the laughter that you so desperately need in your life. Yes, Chris.
Valvacious asks,
Hi, Valvacious.
can demons mate with women?
No. Absolutely not. Moving on. That's a huge subject, and unfortunately we don't have time for it, but absolutely not. Negativity, negative energy, negative affecting you can only happen if you allow it in. If you don't allow it in, and you keep that God force within you, you keep that truth within you, you hold on to your faith, no negativity can harm a person unless you say, hey, here you go, use me, I want to experience this. Who would do that? Only a really, I'm not allowed to say stupid, because you're not allowed to call people stupid anymore, my grandson tells me, but only a stupid person would say, hey, whatever's out there, come get me, and yeah, I want to experience it all. You protect yourself from negativity, you protect yourself, and you don't allow it in. And only a fool would say, hey, here you go. And that is the only way that a negative or an evil force can take over you. Right, Chris.
Salvatore is asking,
Morning, Salvatore.
when my dad died, I dreamed of him every day and I could hear him close to me. Now it has become rarely. Why? Where is he? Has he a new role in his life?
Well, I think two reasons, Salvatore. The first reason, how nice that you felt him and you heard him every day when he first passed. He must have known that you needed that. And I'm sure that he needed to be close to you too. But as we grow, as we evolve, there's a lot more for him to do. There's a lot more for him to see. And, he's obviously busy doing what he needs to do. But here's the deal. Uh, he wouldn't be busy doing what he needs to do unless he was absolutely sure that you were okay too, and that you were able to manage and to survive and to sort of stand on your own 2 feet and not need him quite so much. Just because you don't see him often doesn't mean he's not there, and it doesn't mean that he's not protecting you, because I do believe that he is, very much so, Salvador. But he's got his life, and he knows that being with you too much and too often in this way might just hold you back. You've got to find your own way and your own path. But Gregor tells me to tell you that he's watching. Your dad is watching. So how nice is that? Just move forward and keep doing what you're doing with your life, and do more of what you're doing with your life. Yes, Chris.
Salvatore had also asked, do you see anybody close to me?
Well, I think we just answered that. So let's
Okay.
move on.
Caddy says, I'm
Morning.
fairly connected to my husband and received a wonderful sign from him this morning. There are times when the communication is a little quiet. What do you think our loved ones are doing during those times? Or is it more us not being as focused or receptive?
Well, I think it's all of that, and also what I just said to Salvatore. I think our loved ones. They are with us when we need them. They are with us if they see stuff coming up that they know that will need their strength, their energy. They are with us in those times, but there are other things that they have to do and that they want to do, and so it. I mean, when I think of my father, I think of how much in the past I've just wanted him there 24/7 because I had tons of questions to ask. But how selfish of me was that, because I wasn't thinking of his time and his energy and what he wanted to do. And so, there's so much. It depends on where we are in our learning process. It depends on how our lives are going. And let's face it, if our life is going really, really well, and we're not, we don't have any issues, and, we've met the love of our life and everything is rosy and joyful, we may want to say to those people in the spirit world, yes, we want you to share in this with us, but we're not nearly as desperate to talk to them as we are if things are going wrong. It is a fact, uh, ancient fact, years and years old fact, that whenever there is crisis, like a war, for instance, in the last war, the First World War and the Second World War, in those wars, people come to see people like myself because they're looking for their loved ones, they're looking for those who have gone missing, they're looking for those who have passed, or they're looking to have their future told, or will my husband return, or will my wife be this or this. And it is a known fact that when we're in crisis, like as in COVID, that people clamour for information because they desperately need to be reassured, and they desperately need to know what the future, what is in the future for them. But when everything is okay, people are not necessarily so ardently seeking out someone like myself. So so I think I've said all I need to say there, Chris. I've sort of lost the plot a bit. Go, let's have the next question.
Jackie's wondering if you sense anyone close to her.
Not at this moment in time, Jackie. No, I'm sorry, I don't. But that doesn't mean I won't. So keep trying, my love. Yes, Chris.
Ariel saying, my fiance and I have been having trouble lately getting along. Do you think things will get better? Will he get better and change?
Oh, Ariel. Will he change? What about will you change? Um, I think that there's an awful lot of love between the two of you, and I think there's a strong relationship there, but I think there's also intolerance on both sides. On both sides. You know, it's difficult. Partnerships are difficult, but partnerships require love, they require giving, um, they require compromise. Uh, if you feel he's a person who is unable to compromise, then you're doomed, aren't you? Because you're never going to be happy. But if you can talk, and communication is the key here, if you can talk and help him to understand, and he can talk and help you to understand, you have your issues with him, but I bet you anything like he has his issues with you too. Are you giving him the opportunity to talk about them, or are you just making assumptions? And I think sometimes, I think because of what's happened to you in the past, Ariel, I think you're just a little bit, let's say, overprotective of your own self and your own feelings. I think you do tend to jump to conclusions sometimes. I quite understand it. It's something that's perfectly normal. Perfectly, it happens more often than perhaps you'd like to think about it. But I think that you have potentially a great relationship. You just need to get down to it and start listening to each other. And Ariel, if I can say to you, when you listen, stop making assumptions that he's said something that he perhaps hasn't. Stop making assumptions that he's going to say something, or that he means one thing when in fact he means something entirely different. I think both of you need to work on your communication skills. Right, Chris.
Elizabeth's asking,
Hi, Elizabeth.
recently an unknown person is creating problems for me and my family. My husband and I are worried about this strange situation. Can you tell me if you feel it's dangerous?
Um, I'm listening to Grey Eagle here. Elizabeth, why don't you email me and explain, if you can, what is going on, and I'll certainly see if I can tell you whether you should be concerned or not concerned. Uh, I do think there is some concern here. I think there's some jealousies going on. Email me and let me know what in fact the situation is, if you'd like to, and I'll see if I can give you a clearer and a better opinion. Things like this can take time, and you may want to find a medium who you can have a consultation with to sort of go into this in more detail, because it takes far more time than just a 5 minutes little conversation here. For those of you who would like a consultation with me, and please, there are lots of other people you can go to, so just it doesn't have to be me, but if you are interested or you want to know more about that, how we do that, please email me, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com, and put in the subject line, you want to know more about consultations. We can certainly give you that information. But if you know of someone who is good, who is real, by all means, just pick up the phone and call them and see if they can help you. But just be really careful. You have to know that it's somebody who's really good at what they do and really, really real. Yes, Chris.
Samantha wants to know if there's anyone near her.
Samantha, I was actually going to say no. I don't think this might be who you're expecting or knowing, but Gregor tells me to tell you that there is a young boy who, in the spirit world, who somehow connects to you. I think that might confuse you a little bit, but do your research. There is a young boy. I don't know how old. I'm not sure how old. Maybe 10-ish or something. I'm not sure. But you do have people in the spirit world who are around you and who love you. Chris.
Ariel says, my fiance's grandparents passed away. Grandpa Ned and Grandma Rose. Did they have a message for him?
No, not right now, Ariel. I think you have to sort of listen to what I've suggested to you and think about that and work on that. Chris.
Cheryl says, my sister had a COVID test and tested positive, but when she went for chemo, they retested her and it was negative.
Right. Yeah. Cheryl, I've heard hundreds and hundreds of stories. I'm not kidding. I've heard hundreds of stories of people who have been tested for COVID and didn't have COVID. And just remember that the testing facilities, the hospitals, they get paid more if you've got COVID than if you don't have. So just the fact that the hospitals get more for that, it sort of lends itself to people not always being truthful, doesn't it? It lends to people wanting to perhaps make more money. We're not all honest, and as much as I'm so grateful to the medical profession, because I've had some super experiences. I would not be alive today if it were not for the medical profession. The nurses, the doctors, there are some wonderful people, but that doesn't mean that everybody's honest, and it doesn't mean that administration is honest. Let's face it, if you are struggling in hospital and you need money and there's a way to make money, aren't you going to be tempted to sort of bend to the truth a little? So thank you for that, my darling. I'm glad that you told us that, because I think you're one in thousands, but at least hundreds people write to me all the time about this. So I don't believe any of what is said to us right now. I just don't believe anybody's got a true handle on things. Yes, Chris.
Aislinn is saying, Rosemary, bringing up ancient history here, but I was so upset with how you were being treated on the Oprah show, being interrupted when you were reading, so much skepticism, etc. Your work is so important.
Oh, darling, that's so nice of you to say so. Let's not misconstrue here, though. I was treated very well by the staff, by the people who ran the show, even though they were some of them somewhat skeptical. But they had, I think it was 2 or 3 people from the Skeptic Society or some such, who were those who kept shouting out and interrupting and so on. And you just have to deal with what is given to you. I have no control over it, but I can tell you that I know what I believe. But I also do respect that other people have their own opinions. I just would wish that they weren't so rude sometimes about expressing those opinions. I think that we should all be allowed our beliefs, and if I believe this and you believe something else entirely, that is exactly your choice. I'm not going to disparage you for it. Please don't disparage me for my beliefs. But of course it doesn't work that way, does it? There are bullies in every walk of life, and I think when you were watching that, I think you got a really good taste of what bullying is like. People shouting and people talking over and so on, and absolutely no respect whatsoever. It's such a shame, isn't it, that our society doesn't encourage respect. We don't seem to be encouraging our children to respect their parents. Sometimes when I'm around parents, because I'm around, I'm in New York and I'm with Reese, and I sometimes see the way that children speak to their parents, and the parents, I know that if my daughter spoke to me the way I see some kids talk to their parents, I know absolutely, boy oh boy, they would never dare. My daughter would have been hauled up and dealt with immediately. I don't know what it is that parents don't seem to feel that they are able to discipline their children. And I'm talking about um, consequences, ensuring that children have consequences for their misbehaviour. I don't really get it, but unfortunately, we're breeding a whole generation of kids who need to have some really good, tough lessons about discipline and respect. Oh boy, that's a whole other subject. Let's no. I'm thinking, wow. I've really been having a go at people today. The COVID issue, and now the kids issue, and the teachers issue, and all that. Oh, and not one bit of it is political, by the way. Just my own opinions. But let's get on to something else, Chris.
Well, I want to give you the heads up that it's now 12 o'clock and you're probably
Okay.
only halfway through all the questions.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I also want to say to you, Chris, thank you to you, because I know that as soon as we're done with this, you've got to hot foot it off to work, and I really do thank you for giving your time and effort. And by the way, just everybody out there, neither of us is getting paid for this, right, Chris? I wish I could pay you for this. I wish I could say, okay, you know, I'm going to have Chris on my payroll for for the long haul, but at the moment we can't do that, and I'm so grateful to you, Chris, for volunteering for this.
Thank you, but I would imagine that everybody out there listening would really kill to be in my spot to participate in this, so I feel
Do you
very
think so?
fortunate.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
so Sina is on. Hi, Rosemary. My colleague saw a spirit at my office. Could you tell me about this spirit? Is it a good spirit? What should we do?
Good morning, Sina. Let me see. I'm asking Grey Eagle. Um, see, I'm so skeptical, and I do think that we all of us should be skeptical. Have you seen this whether it's an apparition or whatever? What actually did your colleague see? Was it her imagination? Had she been drinking the night before? I go through all of these things myself. I'm skeptical about the things that I see too. Did it really happen? Have other people in your office had that similar experience? Now, let's suppose that it's real. Let's suppose that this person did see, and it was an apparition. Eagle has his hand on my shoulder, and he tells me that you've absolutely nothing to worry about. That it's a good energy that you have here, and yeah, and that it's a good energy. I could go on a little bit, but unfortunately, we're out of. We don't have too much time. So, what can you do about it? Well, if your colleague sees it again, email me and tell me all about it, and I'll see if I can, or come back on the show and tell me all about it. But I think it's probably somebody who is sort of friendly. I don't see any harmful energy here whatsoever, none whatsoever. And it sort of reminds me a little bit. I'm going to tell you a story on Saturday about when I went into a prison facility and what I saw and what I felt in there, and also sort of how we can distinguish between a force that is negative and a force that is positive. But I think that what you have in your office there, I think I don't see any issues. I'm asking Grey Eagle again, and I'm going to say that whatever it is, it's benign. So you might want to listen, you might want to look, you might want to see if you can see anything out there, because whatever it is, or whoever it is, it's good, and it's good energy, and that's always a good thing to have around you. We all have people around us, all of us have those in the spirit world who come to connect with us from time to time. Our parents, our loved ones, who, all of the above, our children. We have our angels around us too, so it could be any number of these things, but benign, a good thing, not a bad thing. Chris.
Carolina is
Morning,
on.
Carolina.
Hello, Rosemary.
Hi.
I've read your books. I am looking for a 19-year-old boy named Wojtek, Wojtek, in Poland.
Uh, I'm sorry, I don't really understand the question.
I think that they're just trying to find this boy.
Well, I mean, is is he in the spirit world, or is he lost? Is he missing? Please let us know. If I can be of any help to you, I will, absolutely. But please let us know, is this child in the spirit world? I know that you're probably thinking, well, don't you know? And actually, no, I don't know. This is a show where we spend literally sometimes seconds with people, certainly no more than a minute or so on each question. So if you could let us know and give us a bit more information there, we'll see what we can do to help you. Maybe if you could ask the question on maybe on Saturday morning, or because we certainly don't have time to go into it now, but maybe on a Saturday morning, or maybe even next Thursday, you can give us a little bit more information about what it is that you would like from us. Yes, Chris.
Isabella says hello.
Hi, Isabella.
I would like to know if in Italy we will have a new lockdown in October, and I would like to know if Gray Eagle has any advice for me on how to deal with this eventuality. I'm going to lose weight, am I? I want to become weak, and I think that losing weight will do me good. Thanks a lot. So I think this is translated.
Okay. Um, I have. I'm hoping I have a little bit of good news for all of you in Italy. Um, I had a consultation with someone this week, and they had an interpreter. And usually, when I have a consultation, and I know it's with someone who doesn't speak my language, uh, it doesn't always bode well, because it takes so long for me to say what I have to say. Then the translator tells it to the family. Then the family says something back. Then the translator has to say something to me, and on the time goes. And the connection isn't always, it's sort of, you can sort of lose focus a little bit. It doesn't always bode well when we do it this way. However, the lady who they were using, who's she's Italian and American, apparently. She was phenomenal. She was a phenomenal interpreter. So I've asked her to email me with a little bit more information, and I've offered to have her sort of help with translation and so on. So um, if this works out, and I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed that it will, if this works out, I'm hoping that she'll be able to, put something up, or will be able to put something up for her where she has a contact number, and you can sort of connect with her and see if she will be able to translate for you. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that something like that works. I think that would be a really great thing, don't you, Chris?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure. Obviously, you would have to pay her. I have no idea how much, and I certainly will not be getting involved in that side of things. But I can attest to the fact that she's a brilliant, brilliant interpreter, and she will actually, sort of be able to help those of you who perhaps are looking for that if Google Translate does not work for you. So I'm sorry, but I think I can't even remember what the question was. I didn't mean to go off there, but what was the question, Chris?
She's wondering if there's going to be a new lockdown in October. She wants to know if she's going to lose weight, and that's pretty much it.
Well, losing weight that's your choice, but you do need to do it for your health as much as for anything else. And I think it will make you stronger, and I think it will make you more determined. It is so hard when we have been on lockdown. I don't see any need for lockdown. However, as I've said, I don't believe anything anymore that the authorities tell us about COVID. Um, of course, I'm not saying ignore COVID. I'm not saying that one little bit. Take precautions, wash your hands, wear your masks when you're out and about. um, if you go into the grocery store and so on. But please be reasonable. If you're out on your own for a walk in the fresh air and nobody's around, you can take your masks off. Don't be silly about it. I've seen people riding in their own cars wearing a mask, and they're in their own car. We have to get a grip of this thing. And the reason that people are doing this is fear. It's a fear-based thing, and we mustn't let the fear dictate our lives as we have done so far. Whether there'll be a lockdown in Italy or not, I think in some parts there may well be, and some others absolutely not. Do I feel that there is a need for it? Maybe in a couple of places, but not entirely. Okay, that's that. Chris, what do you think about us having this interpreter, or I'm saying interpreter, and I like to better think it's a translator, because an interpreter means somebody's going to interpret your words. We want someone who will translate your words, which is a huge difference. So we're looking for this translator. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that she'll get on board and put her name out there and a contact number. So all of you out there who, especially, we get so many Italian people, but all of you out there who are struggling with the language can perhaps use her and get a better idea of what it is we're saying and what it is we're doing. Yes, Chris.
Well, I know that you spoke to someone earlier about communication, and that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Any way
Yes.
that we can have clear communication is helpful.
Right. Exactly. And, it may even be possible, I don't know how possible this is, but it may even be possible that, especially with our webinars, it may be possible to have this person on silently translating what we're saying to anybody out there who is Italian, to translate what I am saying so that they can get a better handle on the webinars. That would be a really good thing to do, I think.
I'm sure we can work things out if we try.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. All right, I think so. That's it for today. I'm sorry there are so many of you who didn't have your questions answered. We'll be back on Saturday morning with more time for questions and answers. And I'm going to, as I said earlier, I'm going to tell the story of my experience in prison. No, I was not clapped in irons. I didn't go into prison myself, but I was invited into this particular prison, and the experiences that I had, the things that I saw, were amazing. So I think you might like to hear about that, because it's not a usual thing. It's not how many of us get the opportunity to go into prisons and look around and be shown around, and experience not only the weird and the spooky, but the weird and the wonderful as well. So I shall be back on Saturday morning for Rosemary Storytime. Actually, it's Storytime with Rosemary, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 4 p.m. in the afternoon for the Brits. And the rest of you have to figure it out for yourselves, because I can't do every country. But I so appreciate you all joining us. For those of you who didn't get your questions answered, get in early on Saturday morning. Get in early. Try and get your questions up first. That way you get more of a chance of us answering your questions, because we do a first come, first serve situation here. I'd like to say thank you, Chris, very much for your help today. I'd like to say thank you to Grey Eagle, as always, for being here with us and helping me to answer the questions that you have posed for us today. And last, but by absolutely no means least, I'd like to thank all of you for joining me. We really love doing this, and we like to think that we are in some ways inspirational for you and giving you hope and courage in these difficult times that we're going through. And remember, the Hopi elder, why would man build a machine to go to the moon when he can go to the moon himself. And why, when I was in so much pain, did I decide to transcend beyond my physical self? Because the pain was so excruciating, it was so hard. Why was I able to do that? How was I able to do that? We're all capable of doing that. And of course, the story that Chris told, the prisoner in his cell transcends, meditates, transcends, and plays golf on the golf course. There are ways that we can transcend this isolation that we're going through. There are ways that we can be and become more than we could possibly imagine. So I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you all once again. Please, 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 all of you. I hope to see you on Saturday morning, but if not, please have a very blessed rest of the day. And please, all of you out there, have a very, very blessed and a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.